Hey, what's up guys, it's Fish from Beyond, back with a more in-depth budget guide of the dual strike of Ambidexterity. And I tried to make the guide as friendly as possible and as conservative as possible. So if you'll see here, we're at 198 mil DPS, 305k HP, 47 max hit, and 77 LE max hit. And this is conservative. This is us on a negative 100 lightning res Doryani Merc. So this is under the assumption you have two rings that are like negative 50 lightning res, which are cheap. If you're looking to gain more negative lightning res easily, you can get a negative lightning res on the amulet. You can get even negative res on the belt with Immortal's Flesh. I do talk more about this in my previous video, the Doryani Merc, in terms of kitting it out and how to go about it if you're looking to do it on a budget. Feel free to go back to that video. I won't reiterate here. So let's get into it. So this is what the tree looks like. This is a tree that we've ended up with. I even grab a strength node here just for the people that are struggling with strength, so you could actually save that point later on. And you'll see when I say conservative, I don't mean that lightly. We'll go here just so we have a better visual. So if you look here, our Abyss Jewels, all I ask is for accuracy and anything else, accuracy and anything else, avoid shock and anything else. So you could put whatever you like, even more cool stuff. And on the boots, it's just high ES. Movement speed is optional. Some people don't mind not having the movement speed. In that case, you could get higher ES. If you look at these boots closely, you'll notice it has an open suffix. So you could even add more res or even an attribute like more int. Or I believe Dex might be able to roll. I'm not 100% sure. I even put chance to avoid elemental ailments. So that means that 35 plus 17, so you're at 51. Let's add another 25 on top of that. So your 51 is now 76. So realistically, if this is the boots that you're using, this could be 25% chance to avoid being shocked. And you will still be fully ailment immune because of the Storm Shroud. So, and then all the pieces of gear is I try to be as conservative as possible. This is an ES res stick stitch and vise. The ES is not mandatory. Honestly, it's really just a res stick. If you get a base like this, and you have an open prefix but full suffixes, I would highly recommend just slamming Crusader Orb at it if you are able to, because you can get energy shield, you can get lightning damage, there's cool things, but this is the baseline. For the gloves, what really matters here is the increased attack speed. So you have to zeal until happy. We'll talk about crafting all the pieces of gear, or you can buy them out, that's up to you. But what really matters on the gloves is the attack speed and the damage while leeching. The min-max is getting the veiled affix, which is the increased attack speed while focus, but that doesn't matter too much. That only really applies when you use the focus. So it's a very conditional damage uptime. For the claw, it's any 1.6 base APS claw, which I do have a list. It is in the notes. We'll go over it. This is just a brief, quick summary of the gear. And it's just a multi-mod. So it's zealed until a good flat lightning, and then we multi-mod until we're happy. Anathema, you can get bleeding cannot be inflicted on you implicit. That is optional. Nice defensive. Otherwise, just get a well-rolled Anathema that has a high intelligence and then quality to attribute. Generic Necrotic Armor, same thing. We have res on the suffixes, and then preferably like triple T1 prefixes. Whatever the suffixes are, doesn't matter too much, unless you need res. The Manifold, you can have a crafted or Shavronne's ring if lazy and you don't feel like crafting it. Shavronne's ring is good enough. Is it as strong as a Manifold? Absolutely not, but it depends on how you want to approach the build. For the Ephemeral Edge, so if we go to, I do talk about it. Everything I'm talking about right now is all in the notes, so let's actually go to the notes. So the Ephemeral Edge, the only roll that really matters is 10 to 15 at the bottom. the 40 to 50% top roll isn't as big as the bottom roll. Like, enchanted or not enchanted does not matter to us. The min max is crit percent enchanted, but most swords on the market is like bricks from the smite tricksters. So we're just really looking for a fortify corrupt. So if you want other things with it, up to you. Like you can get more like fizz damage, like a very minor min. These are like 0.1, 0.2% like more damage. In terms of the notes of the POB, at the top is like if you have mana issues, accuracy issues. In terms of jewel selections, I even have one right here, the basic crit jewel. So if you don't want to try to use the trade for these items, which you can definitely do, highly recommend. You have to do the session mode, which it's in the notes when you do it, but make sure to set the realm and league first, then put your session mode, copy paste. And then all you can have to do is the Chaos Orb equivalent, and then you search, execute. It's already set up. You can import yourself over this POB, but you do need to make sure the session mode is correct. And then it'll computes for you, and it will tell you, in terms of accurately, it'll tell you what it gives you. So this gives us a 9.3% damage increase for 1.6 divines. That's pretty cheap. 3 divines for 9.2, 3 divines, 9.1%. You see the combined DPS. That's what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at the percentage. But the things to note here, like look at that, 50 chaos for 8.9%. That's 17 mil damage, which is crazy. So things to note here, like let's say you want to go a little bit more in depth and you wanted like energy shield. You can force energy shield, but that's for another day. But that is something to consider, is when you're scrolling through these. Oh, like this has reservation efficiency. Very cool. 8.7% with reservation efficiency, and it has all res. So that's the reason I hover over these, because you never know what you may find in terms of, there might be things that are actually useful to you, but it won't show up in the DPS chart. So it's good to look through this. You never know if there's like more LE res, maybe there's attributes, or maybe like earlier, just the minus reservation. So always good to look through them. So I highly, and this is very build dependent in terms of what you need. You might need more quick chance, and that's why in the notes this is the best basic jewels, because this is very deterministic in terms of the build and where you're at. And then basic crit jewels, if you don't feel like setting this up, you can just click this and all the trade links work. You just need to make sure you're on the pub in, scroll down to the notes, basic crit jewel, so we can open it up. And then, like I said, sort by sum. So we'll sort by sum. And wait for it to load. Done. And then buy whatever you feel comfortable buying. Would I buy these at 20, 10 div? Hell no. This is too expensive. 5 div maybe. Hard maybe though. But it is much better. You just check, use the basic, this version, the best basic jewel. Just learn the trade for. Now let's talk about the budget flask setup. So like I said before, just go to the hub in, just click it. And what's going to happen is we're going to choose 3 flasks. So what we're going to do is the granite, jade, and diamond. So you want to choose a 3 suffix combination. And it has to be all on different ones. And then you choose whatever is the cheapest. And it's pretty much, the T1 prefix is flexible. So we're going to make it so it's it can find a lot of things, which I'll show you in a moment. So let's look. And then in terms of how the filter is set up, the top table of the link is prefixes, bottom table is suffixes. Choose 3 suffixes you like. So let's begin. So these are all the prefixes. I don't care which one. All I care is T1, and it's a good one. Like there may be minor like efficiencies, but this doesn't matter. This is, you're in a budget flask setup until Mageblood. At that point, you throw these flasks away. But honestly, you could resell them. And it can't be increased effect because we are not Mageblood. We don't want reduced duration. So if I am going to do this, we're going to do granite, jade, and diamond. Where what I would recommend is we'll pick 3 of these suffixes, but we're gonna start with the hardest one. Hardest one usually is the reduce effect curses. So we're gonna check Granite Flask first. We'll check the Granite Flask. We'll find that, and then we have to click the reduce effect curses. It's 160C, 1 div is what people are asking for. Let's check Diamond Flask. This is the only painful one because the filter doesn't respect it for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. You could also scroll down. So if you wanted to, you want to save money, you don't have to spend a div on these. We can put a price limit. But for now, let's do we'll take a quick look just to see where the flasks sit. Maybe there's a steal. Like right now, 100C. And if you notice, our prefixes are all like very different, which gives us the opportunity to see more. But 100C, pretty good. But let's say we don't want to spend 100C. So on all your trade filters, on all the filters in my POB, you can put a price limit. Let's say we only wanted to spend 60C. Put a search. Do the same thing. We have 29 results. And we'll sort it. 30C. Whether he replies or not, that's a whole nother story. But 30C, 50C, 45. And this is what, like a couple % off of the max 65, and you save an arm and a leg. I would highly recommend going this route. And let's also check like Diamond Flask. So these are ways to save money. Like you don't ever need like the absolute perfect, but close enough is fine. So like 30C, 60C, 30C, 40C. And then it's after you get that sorted, like let's say we got our reduce effect on one of these flasks. Now we have to figure out the other 2 flasks. And what I would recommend personally, I'd go Res, and I would probably go Crit Chance. Res for the maps that give us like vulnerability. Having Res is pretty nice, but if you wanted more fluidity, you get movement speed. You could have a 4 magic flask, realistically speaking, if you're only going to use a tincture and 4 flasks. But I don't really know. A lot of people like to build differently. You can use like a 4 flask setup. A 3 flask setup, the only reason I suggested this is for the people that want to use maybe the new gold, the divine tincture that drops from that new boss, which gives us divine card buffs. You could also use a bottled fate, but a bottled fate is like 11 div. I don't know how much people are willing to spend, so I go with the very bare minimum. But like everything with PoE, everything's a build the bear situation. Build the bear however you'd like. So like let's say we'll go for magic flask, right? So we got the reduce effect curses. So and we got like, let's imagine we got that on a diamond flask. I believe diamond flask. Yeah. So now let's figure out our granite flask. Because just flat armor is nice. We don't have any source of flat armor. We're gonna keep the chaos orb equivalent as is. So 60. We're not gonna spend more than 60. So now we just scroll like 9C, 10C. Like we get, so Res is cheap. And look at that. Even crit chance is cheap. Movement speed is cheap. So it's really just a combination of where you want. So once you let's for just imagination's sake, we bought the granite flask with Res. So all we have to do, remove the Res. Let's move on to the next flask. Let's say a jade flask. Grab the jade flask. Let's search. Oh, there's 5 results. So at this point in time, we're starting to dwindle down into choices. This can happen, but so at that point you might have to remove the buyout price, but it still exists. 25C, we could buy that. 39C, 45, 50. Whether they reply or not, that's a whole nother thing. But at that point, you could probably increase, or you could probably put the Res on this flask instead. And at that point, we'll grab the flask here. It's 10C, 15C. We have a lot more choices here. And then in that case, that means we gotta, on the granite flask, we gotta go back and see how much crit and movement speed are. Which 53 results, it would be much easier getting it on this flask versus the other flask. But the market fluctuates in availability, so there is no guarantee here. And this is how I'd go about buying flasks on a budget. So let's go now into the gear. So I showcased the gear in terms of what you need. This is pretty much self-explanatory, I feel, in terms of how to go about crafting the gloves. So it really depends on the fracture. So I would highly recommend fracturing yourself, or you could buy fractured bases already fractured. The only thing to consider at this point in time is if you're going to do this is a much higher investment, just PSA. If you're gonna buy fractured bases, make sure like the fracture cost is like it's a 1 in 4, right? So when you're fracturing it yourself, you try to go for a 50-50. So you'd be like zeal spamming gloves until you hit like a T1 ES percent or ES flat, and then you fracture over the 50-50. The thing to consider when buying already fractured bases is the cost. So if a fractured base is already 40 divines, just for the base on an overcall, that's like 24%. At that point, I would rather just fracture it myself and play the 50-50. It's very unlikely you lose 4 times in a row. And if you're buying like a 24% fractured base, or 24% like just overqual gloves, they're relatively cheap. They're not that expensive. It's when you get to like the 28, 29, 30%, that's when things suddenly jump up in price. And you can get like, if you're lucky, the market has non-split ones and you split it yourself. It really depends. Availability fluctuates and there's no guarantee here. But I would highly recommend buying overqual bases and fracture yourself if you'd like and if you have the currency to. Otherwise, buy already fracked base if the price is right. Alternatively, if you want to go full budget, buy just high base percent versions. Just literally a high base percent gloves, and then zeal until happy. For the boots, all you're gonna do is woe until happy. Or you could zeal if you want the 32% movement speed and guarantee that. But you could just woe till happy. For the helmet, it's also woe, but you could also dents here until happy. So it really depends on where you want to be. I do not know. Everyone has different price points. Or you could also just click the link, buy the gloves, call it a day. That is also an option here. And that's why I provide the links for the people that want to do that. Like you can see that this one's 15 div. 15 div, honestly pretty nice. Is it the most min-max ever? No, those are not T1s, those are T2s. But it has the damage with leeching, it has int on it, and it's the correct attack speed. I'd be happy with these gloves. And as you can see, that it jumps immediately to 30 div. And right now, the way the trade search is, we're just looking for intelligence, attack speed, good ES, an open prefix, or an empty prefix. And it cannot be crafted ES because then we can't craft our leech. If you want to go cheaper, there is a way. Remove the intelligence. We don't need the intelligence is a nicety. We don't need it. 14 div, 15 div, 15 div. Then it jumps to 30. But market fluctuates in terms of availability. If you go any, you can see that there are a lot more. Look, this one, 3 div, 6 hours ago. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. That's pretty nice. It's not the best. The reason why it's nice is because, so see, this is one thing you got to keep an eye on is the attack speed implicit. It juices the numbers. So what you can do, you do have to keep an eye on out on that. But aside from that, there are things you could buy that are pretty good. Like this is pretty good. 7 div, 8 div. So there's a lot of things to consider. Feel free to adjust the trade filters as needed. Feel free to play around with it. Worst case scenario, you break it, come back to the POB, click it again. And then to reiterate, like the claw base, all it needs to be is a natural 1.6 APS. Pick any of these: Imperial, Hellion, Noble, Tiger's Paw, Sparkling, Cat's Paw, or Nailed Fist, with a 7 to 8% attack speed synth implicit. Then, or 5 to 6 on a budget. Click the link if you like to search. Zeal until a combination of any of the two, which is these: Flat Lightning, T1 or T2, Ellie with attack skills T2 or T1 if it's eye level 86. The only way to get an eye level 86 is you need that synth base to be slammed against a higher eye level base on the recombinator to get it tiered up, but that's 50-50 on the base. And intelligence T1 or T2. And then it's Zeal, a null until alone, multi-mod. And if it's open prefix, Ellie with attack speed. If open suffix, double damage. That's the only like 2 extra, or you're gonna have 1 extra, 1 open prefix or 1 open suffix, because the open prefix, the first one, we're doing lightning damage with shock because that is a mandatory. It is too much damage. Now let's talk about the Megalos. In terms of the Megalos, it is very flexible. All I want is the quick and deadly, and then it's nice to have with other things. So if you'd like culling, get Donor's Gluttony. Blood Scent for the min-max, I would recommend getting a Blood Scent quick and deadly, but I don't know where the price lies. Sometimes that shoots up, sometimes it's low. The like good damage are Brutal Infamy, Force Multiplier. Evil Eye is a bit conditional because it's only curses. So when they're cursed, it's a lot of damage, but when they're not cursed, there's like meh. So Feed the Fury is the best in slot. Fuel the Fight, second runner up to Feed the Fury. The only bad thing about Feed and Fuel is they are leech dependent, so they completely turn off on cannot leech maps. In terms of Megalos, there are other things that are cool to add, and that is Enduring Composure. You will see that in the build. I already have it. If it shows up here, but it doesn't show up on the site, but it should show up on the POB itself. As you can see, Enduring Composure, it is our method to solve and get endurance charges. It is much more consistent because we're usually getting hit. We're not evading 100% of the time, so we usually have endurance charges. And it's a very good like way to get endurance charge. Alternatively, if we go into the notes, we go a little bit deeper. I do talk about the charges. You could put Warlord's Mark. You could get Replica Victarius in the Mercenary. So those are things to consider. So that's the Megalo. The large cluster. So the large cluster, there is a budget large cluster search. If you don't want to get the Feed the Fury and the expensive version, which here we'll click the expensive version to see. We'll start there. So as you can see, this is 20 div is what they're asking for. 20 div, 20 div, 30 div, 40 div. Like, that's pretty expensive, and that's just at the moment. The price fluctuates. If you go, whenever buying anything expensive, always check any just to see where the market lies. Like literally 11 hours ago, 8 div. So this is available. You just have to wait for them to come online. An hour ago, 8 div, and it's, look at that, it's triple synth. That's pretty hot. A month ago, maybe they come back, maybe they don't. Sometimes they do. 2 days ago, 10 div. So like there's no reason to buy a 20 div. Like just wait. If the price is not right, don't buy it. The market fluctuates in availability. There's 50 of them. It's only 6 online right now. And then let's go to the budget version. Here is the budget search. So in the budget search, I do have a image Imgur URL, which I'm surprised it doesn't hot link. It is what it is. Okay, if quick and deadly is in the middle, it's brick and it won't work. So what you're looking for is a quick and deadly that's not in the middle. So you see how this is in the middle? The bottom one, that's a brick. This is not a brick. This works. The reason why anything that's in the middle in this text area is on the far end. When I say far end, that means it's on the outside. It is right here. We don't want that. You want the quick and deadly, but that's the wrong cluster. But we want quick and deadly in the front. All right. So if we go here and we look at this, that's a brick. That's a brick. That's not a brick. Okay, like that's what we're looking at. The market's a little bit dry, but it's also just the time of day that I'm recording this. But you see, this is 7 div. Honestly, we go online, only 13 results, but that's where the league is at the moment. A lot of people are playing Gauntlet, but you can see there's 227. And here, we'll make it even. So the listed time is, we'll go up to 2 weeks ago, which, there we go, a day ago, 1.5 div, but that's a brick. So we're gonna scroll until it's not a brick. That's the thing here. Like if I see the quick and deadly in the middle, that's a brick, and we're gonna keep scrolling. We scroll till happy. Here, 3 div 5 days ago. So a good chance he comes back. So we'll copy it. So if you don't know, on the trade, bottom left, there's a little plus sign. copy the item. You can go to the POB, go to the items, create custom, right click, paste. It even has a price at the bottom. It's nice. And then we add it to the build, and let's see if it is actually correct. So we're just going to right click this, put in it's a lodestar right here, put it in. As you can see, it is correct. The martial prowess is in the middle, and that's on the end. So we have quick and deadly with dire of the destruction, and that's 3 div. So that's if you want to go on a budget. If you have the currency to, I would highly recommend getting the feed. And if this is a lot of damage. Now let's go down to the Watcher's Eye. So the Watcher's Eye is, so the lightning pen, important to note, is the most DPS, yes. But if you are running a full Doriani Merc, if they're already minus 200, the lightning pen is absolutely does nothing. So you could just get a combination of the 3, completely foregoing lightning pen, and get like rat lightning damage, precision attack damage, and like discipline with energy and shield on hit. So feel free to get a combination of any of the Watcher Eye mods that affect our build, preferably a triple mod or at least a dual mod. If you're desperate, a single mod. That's up to your preference. And here we talk about the Lethal Pride. So the thing with the Lethal Pride, we go for a triple double damage, the 12883. If you want the min-max, we use Kaum, but it doesn't really matter. The only reason we use Kaum is if we go here, you'll notice the Strength of Blood. It does give us good EHP, but this EHP is only real if you're attacking and leeching. So if you're not leeching, this does not matter. This is not happening at all whatsoever. So this only really applies when we're standing still and attacking. And then it's pretty nice. It does give us a good Fizz max hit and gives us more HP, but at the cost of a point. Not a mandatory, just a nicety, optional defensive layer. So that's the thing. Do note on the Lethal Pride, there might be new tech. I'm currently still working on it. There might be a version of this tree that we completely forgo this area and then just put the Lethal Pride in this section and completely drop Light of Meaning. I'm currently unsure yet. I'm still testing. We will see if that is the play. There are mana issues currently that I'm facing where I had to put like mana reservation on the helmet, but that's for another day. And here we are, we go to the bottom section. This is for the Mageblood users. This was pretty much copy pasted from my EHP defensive guide and pretty much maybe slightly improved. I put a little bit more notes into it. So in terms of the amulet, this also affects the budget build. Is you go Ash of the Star for pretty good DPS. If you're struggling on resistances, like just the rolls of your items, put a Yoke of Suffering, call it a day. You need more accuracy and you want culling, Malene's Fallacy. If you don't already have Dodre's Gluttony, but Dodre's Gluttony, like the thing with Megalos is ask for stat points, and we are stretched thin. Just because of the nature of where this build lies and the fact that we go all the way around and we gotta stretch to Ambidexterity. It used to be we could anoint Ambidexterity, but not anymore. We are mandatory anoint Tribal Fury because we lost the splash damage enchant from Settlers League of their Benchcraft. It is what it is. So in terms of big boy, you can go Focus Amulet with +2/+2 and crit multi, fully deterministic. I will put a link below for Curious Dumbo's guide to focus and simplex amulets. It's pretty much that. If you don't feel like watching the video, the TLDR is you get a focus amulet based, non-influenced. You chaos spam until plus all skills, annul down until plus all skills is alone, and then you do prefix cannot be changed, scour. So you keep the plus all skills, the base becomes blue, then you imprint. At that point, highly recommend watching this video to see more, but so you can see like the examples. But once you have the imprint going, it's pretty much safe and deterministic from here, because The only sad part is now once you have your imprint ready, you're gonna regal and annul, hope that plus all skills stays, and then you craft cannot roll attack, augment lightning via harvest, like add remove, and then you have to do prefix cannot be changed and reforge crit, and hope to god you hit crit multi, otherwise you're likely to hit crit chance. What I would recommend, if you can, if you have the budget to, much more expensive but a lot of damage, is +4 all skills reflected with crit multi, and then any other affix. If you're trying to get like a full positive roll, like with +4 lightning, it's like 10-15 mirrors. If I'm assuming that's where the market is, I do not know, but that's the amulet. So for forbidden jewels, I use Mistwalker. It is so good. The defensive crit immunity is so nice. Born in the Shadow is an option if you get a map that blinds on hit. You get its defensive blind immunity, and monsters nearby you perform less damage, but it's very hard to beat crit immunity, because especially on a crit chance crit multi, they're like 1000% crit chance with 800 crit multi. They literally tap you. Ambush and assassinate, if you're doing bossing, you're just full on like uber boss rushing. Ambush and assassinate cannot be beat for the damage and the culling. For the ascendancy, you can go the polymath in one step. So this is more of something to consider if you're going spell suppress. Personally, I don't like spell suppress. I've tried it. It provides a good defensive layer, but for the amount of damage that I lose, it doesn't feel good. And with the spell suppress, you have to choose between polymath or one step ahead. I'd rather have both and drop suppress entirely. Endurance charges, this is where we can get them. If you want to drop Assassin's Mark, you can put Warlord's Mark. Your Enduring Composure, my personal recommendation. And then Replica Victorious on a Mercenary is not consistent. Frenzy charges, a Mark Mastery. There's Poacher's Mark if you want to remove Assassin's Mark. And then the power charges, Assassin's Mark, that's what we use. And Anathema trigger, not very consistent, but Assassin's Mark is really where we get it. Power charges gives us more crit. For the people running suppress, if fully suppress cap, don't take chances for suppress spell is lucky, because that doesn't matter anymore. Take the prevent instead. For the map mods, these are ways to solve, and it's right here. So you just like unspec out of anywhere you'd like. You can unspec out of bleeding is what I usually do, because it's 4 points, and then grab the monsters cannot block. So if that's what you, and then for the regen, so right here, remove the frenzy. Marked enemies cannot regen. And then for the crit maps, where I'm running Mistwalker, but worst case scenario, let's say you're not running Mistwalker, then marked enemies cannot deal crit strikes. The only problem here is marked enemies can only be rare uniques. So magic mobs, which are pretty scary when there's an en masse of them, will one-shot you. So things to consider. So let's go down. And then for the manifold crafting, it is pretty deterministic. You just grab a manifold ring, 82 minimum. I don't believe any of them is below 82. I believe they're all like 84, 85, and 86. We're gonna torment. The reason we use torment is lightning flat is weighted against you. That is a nightmare to roll if you're trying to do other things. So we'll just get the essence torment for pretty much practically T1 lightning. And then it's until you hit T1 LE damage with attack skills percent, like T1, well rolled, mind you. These two need to be well rolled, because Essence of Torment is relatively free. Like if you have the currency, they're not expensive. They're like maybe 3 to 4 C a piece. It's not worth throwing a divine at it. Then Fracturing Orb for a 50-50. If Lightning Flat is what got fracked, you woe for the ES, or Scorn if you want to go big boy. So right here, it's if using Scorn, it's Lock, Suffix, and Veil Exalted Orb. Much more expensive. But you can just woe, and then you lock the prefixes, Veiled Chaos, and you're done. Right? Because you're gonna woe until you hit the T1 LE, Or if Ellie attacked with skills, you torment until T1, or pretty much you torment until you hit like ES or little happy, whatever you're happy with. And then lock prefix veiled, call it a day. Or scorn if you want to be more expensive. That's up to you. Depends on your budget. That's pretty much it for the build guide. Any questions or concerns, feel free to leave a comment below or join the Discord, send me a message on Discord or send a message on Twitch. I stream sporadically, so if you happen to catch me, hey, how's it going?